forehead.
Kelosal. All right, gang. It's fun time. Here we go.
All I'm seeing is Laranite and a bunch of names for what's on board.
They're saying, really? He's got a helmet on and a weapon.
He trying to lie? Oh, I love it. I love it.
That's some mad bullshit, my dude.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the ransom?
He's like, worth a shot. Hold up. Ask him how much his cargo's worth.
Well, he's gonna like.
Or how much he wants to... No. Ask him how much he wants to pay for the privilege to get his cargo ship back.
Fair enough. Well, how much do you want to pay to get your ship back? Yeah, man, but we're gonna go places unless you pay. And then we're gonna shoot you, and then you won't have your cargo. So, how much do you want to pay for it?
For what it's worth, he's got
okay.
150k in cargo here.
He's saying
I
to
don't
kill him.
mind killing.
That's okay. I don't mind. Kill me. Alright. Get ready to draw. Quick draw, guys. Quick draw.
Well,
get ready.
It was
Alright, want me
nice
to fly
of
out?
you.
Yep.
And remember, this was all on you. He's got a P4.
You guys are cutting out.
Go, yeah. Punch out.
Alright, getting out right now. Get ready. Gonna be out any second. It's out. Oh, what the fuck is happening?
Okay, that's enough. He's dead.
Oh man. Dude, all I can see is just my
God, look at all that blood!
I just hear fucking bullets, fucking flashlights.
Greetings, and welcome everyone to the Soul Citizens. I'm GriffinGamingRPG, and we are back for another fun-filled week of conversation with some very exciting guests. But before I speak about our guests, I want to introduce my co-host for today, the one and the only man from Florida with all that stuff in the background, Kelosal.
How you doing? Welcome me back. Yes, absolutely. It's good to be back. Love to be. It's got to start you off right. Got to support the Rowdies this week.
What I was going to ask you, what are you champions of this week? It's always something different. What is it? The Rowdies? Tampa Bay Rowdies?
The Rowdies is the Eastern Conference champs of the United Soccer League. Okay, that's the second tier of USA Soccer.
Okay.
So if you want to watch any sport and have a good time and watch a team win, come on out to Tampa Bay.
Okay, thank you for the public service announcement. We appreciate that. Okay, let's move on past Kelosal to the person directly to my right. She is not a stranger to our show, and she has been one of our one big supporter of ours, and it's always fun to have her on board, and that would be Buster the Destroyer. I was going to say Duster the Bustroyer.
Oh, no.
I was getting my D&B in reverse that time, right? That's because I'm trying to pronounce this next name right, so you know I'm all freaked out, right? So I've already messed yours up. But Buster, how are you? How you doing, sweetie?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Just chilling and killing.
Chilling on a Sunday, huh?
Yeah, you know, I washed the dogs today. You know.
Okay. Chilling and killing. You know, did you just say that because this is the PvP show? Is that what made you say that, or is that your normal thing?
Honestly, chilling and killing. Okay. Like, that's the PvP thing today.
Okay.
It kind of fits the theme. But yeah, no, like I said, I washed the dogs today, so I've been more like chilling and washing.
Sunday chill, Sunday relaxing. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. And last but not least, we have a face here that might be familiar to some. But we were really excited about being able to have this gentleman on board with us today, Agens Leti from Mongrel Squad. What's up, buddy?
Mongrel in the house.
Mongrel house. All right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, guys.
Good.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Good. We are happy to have you here as well. Some of you have seen the title for this week's show, and we talked about it a little bit last week. Can I get some yens in the chat? Last week we talked about this a little bit, that we're excited about this topic about PvP. As many of us know it as player versus player versus environment, PvE. But the title of this show is Psychology versus Psychaos. Psychaotic, right? I share with our guests that we want to talk about PvP in the Star Citizen universe, and we're going to get a little bit of history about them, talk a little bit about what draws them to PvP, what they like about it, whether they do PvE as well. But then we're going to also talk about how they've been doing PvP in Star Citizen currently, as well as the future of it in the game. You know, many of us who, whether you like PvE or PvP, if you've been gaming any amount of time, you know that you need to have a little bit of everything in the game to make the game fun for everybody. And so we want to kind of give a platform today, a shout out to those who are into PvP gameplay. Kelosal is one of our people on our team that does PvP as well. I'm not a big PvP person. I'll do it if I have to, but it's not my main thing that I do. But I enjoy it when I do get into it, especially if it's in a role play scenario. So let's jump right into it a little bit here. Agents, I'm going to, since you were the last one, I'm going to hit you with the very first question here. Have you always been involved in PvP in gameplay in other games, or did you just start doing it in Star Citizen, or how's PvP played out for you as a gamer?
So yeah, pretty much I've done a lot of PvP in other games, a lot of survival games in probably the last decade. Games like H1Z1, Ark, Atlas were the big ones, but I like the last couple of years has just been purely Star Citizen, so there's not many other games where I play.
If the ones that you've played, which one do you think was probably the toughest for you?
Ooh, I loved Ark. Ark Survival
Ark's
Evolved.
great. Yeah,
but that was before they started adding all the weird expansions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Back when it was like in the alpha and you had to struggle to get through.
Okay.
Loved it.
Buster, what about you? What as far as PvP, always been a PvPer, or what got you started into it?
Honestly, when I first started playing the game, you know, obviously those first few days is just you trying to figure out how to walk in space. But like when I first started playing the game, that was like, it wasn't very long after an acquaintance of mine I realized had the game as well, and we actually became really good friends because of Star Citizen. And he was the one that initially taught me to fight, but I didn't really. I mean, I would play. You know, before I started streaming Star Citizen like almost 3 years ago, I was playing Star Citizen at least once a month, but not like at the level that I do now at the time level. But I don't know, like some of the first people I watched on Twitch were like Nerd Show and Tell and Moist Noodle, two really, you know, very clear PvPers. So I think it's always been kind of in my mind like the measure for the longest time, because it was one of the only complete game loops. It's always kind of stuck in my brain, like to be a good PvPer is to be good at Star Citizen, though I don't think that's as true anymore. Obviously it's getting bigger, but yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do it better, and I've always tried. Okay. You know, but I suck. Some days I have good days, some days I really suck. Okay. So
I think that's everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
But even then, I feel like overall I just suck, but that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Let me give some shout outs real quick to GoMab and to Shipwreck, a couple people who follow us all the time. Thank you. Whammer says,
thanks for the subscription.
Whammer, thanks for the subscription. Whammer, thank you all for those subscriptions. And to Warhead84, thank you for the follow. We appreciate that. And thank you for the 07. We got it, but you sent it. We appreciate that. And is that Bitters SOL followed us. Thank you for the follow. JDog93, thank you for the follow. Conjar, thank you for the follow. And K Put, thank you all for the follows as well.
Thanks for the follow.
We appreciate that. Thank you all. Thank you. Okay, let's we got a whole bunch of folks jumping in. Main is that Main Jack? These must be all of Agens Leti and Buster's folks.
These may be mongrels.
These are mongrels coming in. Awesome. Well, thank you all, Mongrel Squad, for supporting him and for being here tonight. Yeah, we appreciate that. Xanderlin, Main Jackalope, B-Spars, Shotgun Hobo. I like that name, Shotgun Hobo. And Troy 06166. Thank all of you all for the follow. Thanks you all. And feel free to jump into the chat too. We appreciate that. Troy, thank you for the follow. Okay, let's jump into it a little bit more here. And I'm going to view the Buster this time. Oh no, Kelosal, I didn't ask you. What's your PvP experience? Yeah, what got you into PvP?
Darkfall. I played them. I played a lot. I played Darkfall. I played EverQuest. EverQuest Next. World of Warcraft. Sorry. Eve. Boy, that's a toxic game. Talking about toxic. Elite Dangerous. You know, I can name several of them, but I think the toughest ones that I've ever played, other than Atlas, was probably Darkfall. Star Wars Galaxies. You can go that far if you wanted to.
Old days.
But yeah, I would say that Darkfall was one of the toughest ones that I've ever experienced as far as PvP. It was World of Warcraft though that got me into shoot first, beg for forgiveness later. It was that game, because every time you see somebody on the side and you're like, hey, how you doing? You know, I'm just a friendly, and then you're dead. You know, and after you just communicated with them. So that was a game that basically got me off of my little moment in terms of being so you can call me whatever you want. I got a picture up here that represents me. So yes, I'm a Care Bear, but I'm this Care Bear. So you can call me Grumpy all you want.
Lord Almighty.
That's the Care Bear. That's my best friend. That's my road dog right there.
Just letting to laugh at that when he saw the picture pop up.
That's my road dog. So whenever you see me, especially Red Lear, I love you, Red Lear, but that crap that you did to me was a hot mess. When I was coming in my prospecting, you blew me up right outside of Nick L1. That was awful. So I'm one of those ones that would troll you. I would let you know first. I'd be like, hey, Buster, you just beat me up. I'm coming for you. I'm letting you know. I might stream snipe you, but I'm coming for you. So,
I always tell everybody, if you want to stream snipe me, just get me to start talking about Star Trek. and or somebody else too, and it's so easy. It's so easy because I'm so distracted. By the way, I did want to add, we were talking about other games PvPing, and I just want to make it clear, Star Citizen is the only game I've ever really played an MMO.
Oh,
I just, that's why I started. I should have mentioned that when I started, but that's why I specifically talked about Star Citizen PvP on other games question, because I didn't really play other games. I've never PvP'd in other games very often enough to be like, oh, it got me into PvP. Now Star Citizen is the only game I've really PvP'd ever. Okay.
Do you do PvE? That is the next question. Is that something that you do, or are you strictly PvP player?
Yeah,
you mix
it up.
You mix it up.
I PvE. I probably PvE more than I PvP, because I don't get enough people that want to PvP, and then when I do PvP, I tend to lose a lot. So it's just kind of a pain in the ass sometimes.
Okay. Agens Leti, what about you? Mix it up or lean toward one more than the other?
No, I try and avoid doing PvE beyond learning about the mechanics. You know your targets that you're hunting so that you can find them easier. That type of thing. Let
me ask a question. Is you're staying away from it beyond mechanics? Is that because it's not as challenging, or is it the fact that it's not developed enough that it's challenging for you? And I'm talking about particularly in Star Citizen.
Yeah, no, I just don't really enjoy it that much. Like, I'm the type of player that likes to pursue, like, I like to do things the hardest way possible in games. So I'll always throw it on nightmare mode. Like, if it's a single player game, I'll throw it on nightmare mode and, just go hammer and tong, try to, punch my way through it.
So when you buy hot sauce, do you buy the spiciest one?
He goes all the way.
I'm actually not a fan of hot sauce, which is ironic considering how I like to punish myself in games. But yeah, it's one of those things where I've always found PvE only gets you so far in terms of the content that I look for. So it ends up being hunting, players. When we're doing piracy, hunting players is always, I'd say, more rewarding and more challenging. When it comes to doing piracy, it's more about the hunt more than getting the booty at the end at the moment, especially the game in alpha where credits don't matter.
Musha1 says you are a masochist. Confirmed. That's what he says in the chat.
Yes.
So what you just said, as it's more about the chase or the hunt than the booty at the end?
Yeah.
That sounds like dating advice I probably received before.
Okay, on that note, Klaus, what about you? PvP, PvE, mix it up, leaning more toward one?
I'm usually neutral.
Okay.
I can see where, Agents comes in at in terms of wanting things a little bit more difficult, because a lot of times the gameplay of the game, or at least the storyline, is just not enough. And sometimes you want to cause your own. You want to be the master of your own destiny.
Okay.
And sometimes you may just want to go ahead and stay away from the gameplay because it's just not. You've done it all. It sometimes could be repetitive. So you start being a little bit more creative, and that may entice you to be a PvPer.
Okay.
So I've done it a lot of times. I agree with Agents in the fact that when we do PvE, it is mostly just to get to understand the game. And then once you understand it, a lot of times I stay PvE a little bit longer because I'm like, okay, I'm still not satisfied in my PvP skills yet, so I'm going to go ahead and stay here a little bit longer, see if I can go ahead and learn how to go ahead and do this combo, that combo, blah, 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 blah. And then once I'm tired of it, then I go straight into PvP, and I usually go hardcore with it. So it all depends on the learning curve.
Okay.
Pretty much for me.
Okay. Agents, let me throw this one at you here. You talked about that build up or the working is better than necessarily the booty. What part draws you into PvP? Is it the preparation? Is it the psychology side of it? Is it, for some people, it's watching the ship blow up, right? I mean, what is it that really draws you in, that gets you into the whole PvP?
People give it a bad tone, but emergent gameplay, I'm a big proponent for that. Non-scripted events, like all our piracy hits, we don't script them. They're literally people that we just find.
Right.
And what I find out of like emergent gameplay is that you can't predict what's going to happen. It's not a scripted event. You don't know what's going to happen. You could attack someone and then all of a sudden you get an ambush by 10 other people because they baited you in. They were looking to hunt you. They were looking for you. They found you and they were trying to bait you in. There's been times where we've come across a target and we'll run into another pirate org. And then all of a sudden it goes from, like us trying to stalk the target and just worrying about that target on itself. It's us stalking the target and worrying about the other pirate org because they know that we're there. But nobody's going to attack the target until the target's got enough value on it. And then, it's that whole thing of who's going to get there first, the fight about it. Like a lot of that you just can't script. And it's about having those experiences. And I think after a while of playing Star Citizen, you get to a point where it's like it just ends up being that same grind over and over again. Like Kelosal was saying, is like it just becomes repetitive. And what I find with PvP gameplay is that it ends up being the type of gameplay where it's like you can play the same game over and over again and get different experiences every single day.
Yeah,
and that's what keeps drawing me back to Star Citizen, even in its broken state. Nice. It's like I don't know what's going to happen.
Nice. Okay. Buster, you mentioned the fact that you didn't start doing PvP until Star Citizen. Was it the fact that it gave you something else to do? Was it because you went out with some other people and experienced it and you enjoyed it? What made you kind of shift into the whole PvP thing?
Well, like I said, the idea of like just being good at shooting other spaceships down in Star Citizen has always been kind of the first thing I've wanted to be good at in Star Citizen. But like, I don't know, I guess like if we're talking about being drawn to it and stuff like that, I would agree with Agents, like a lot of literally everything he just said about emergent gameplay. I think it's one of the areas of the game where you're most likely to experience something different. And people, and I think in a weird way you get to experience the personality of other players through PvP, if that makes sense. Because people like him, that video at the very beginning, like you saw that guy like try to say it wasn't full of laranite, like he tried to be like it's just scrap. And it's like it's interesting to see how people respond to situations. But like I don't know, I think too, like I don't like drama in my personal life. Obviously, I'm like a I'm the kind of person who's like, okay, I just want everybody to be clear about what they want from me, and I will do my best to be clear to them about what I need and want from them. And I try to avoid drama in that way in my real life. But I just love PvP drama and Star Citizen. It is like so addictive. It's every time like this topic gets like up in the air again, it gets kicked up out of the dust, everybody's like wanting to yell and shout about it. I'm just like I'm one of those people like popping the popcorn, you know, because I see it both ways. I see where people get frustrated with it, and I see where people like as in like they get frustrated with PvP players, but I also see where the PvP players are often right about the way they approach the game. Like I think the PvP is just in this game is the root of how people interact with other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with Buster. It can help drive the economy as well. It can help drive the game in a different direction. It can actually help reestablish or establish a new storyline for companies, and then all of a sudden they see what's going on, and some companies may sit there and say, wow, okay, this is obviously player created here, and we may, based off of how popular it is, we may include it in the lore.
So Jumptown was a classic example of that emergent gameplay that came from the players.
Oh my God.
Right?
And everybody still talks about it. It was like almost 2 or 3 years ago. It was at least 3 years ago at this point, and everybody still talks about it like and wants for it so much. I mean, even people that didn't PvP at the time got into it for a while because they couldn't resist just going and having a good time.
Absolutely. Agens Leti, were you around back then doing the Jumptown Wars? Yeah. Did you guys?
Yeah, many times
were you working?
Jumptown.
Were you independent or were you working as a group when you were doing it?
We were working as a group. We were a lot smaller back then, so there was quite a few PvP battles back then. Another event. It's not on the same scale as Jumptown, but the 3.9 Laranite Rush as well.
Oh yeah.
On Aerial, you had that where a lot of PvP was happening, but because it was split between 2 outposts, it was kind of just slightly diluted. But yeah, Jumptown back in the day was pretty big. That's where a lot of people also cut their teeth in PvP as well. In Star Citizen.
Yeah, I remember the Lyria stuff, and then there was the what's the joint on Selling, where the diamonds were running out of for a while. Yeah, Trem Myers for a while was another one that kind of did its own little, you know, emergent kind of thing as well. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. I remember
that.
Buster, let me ask you, when you're PvPing, is it a role-playing dynamic for you? I mean, are you allowing yourself to immerse in the verse? Let me spin it a different way. Xenothreat and we just had Ninetales, right? And CIG has alluded to the fact that, you know, players can take the mission that comes across the speakers, but that there could be players who decide to fight on the other side. Now, my question is, are they fighting on the other side just because it gives an opportunity to have conflict, or are they fighting on the other side because in their mind, they're on the Ninetales side? When you're doing PvP, do you picture yourself that way, or do you just, you know, it's just the combat and the competition of it and that's it?
It's interesting that you frame it that way, because when you first were kind of going for role playing, I was going to go, well, I don't really role play, but then you kind of frame it like, and I think about it, and often in video games, I make choices based on how I feel. Like I would never join the Xenothreat, like the Xenothreat side of Xenothreat, right? Because I think of them as space racists, and I want nothing to do with space racists. And I never thought of, like, I guess I always think that way. I would totally PvP with somebody, you know, and whatever, if they wanted to, you know, if they're obviously playing on that side. But like, I personally am like, and not that I judge, because, you know, I know it's a fictional game, but at the same time, like, some people pick that side so they can get the combat out of the players that are reporting to do the mission, right? And so I don't put that decision to be part of Xenothreat on them personally, but I think, well, your character in the game is doing it, so they're up for grabs, but not you, like, as a person,
right? If
that makes sense. So I didn't even think about it, but I do kind of make that choice based on xenothreat based on my personal morals and how I would react to that on a personal level. But I also don't assign that to other people. I just think, oh, they're just wanting PvP. So that's
okay.
So yeah, I guess it's half and half. Like sometimes I PvP, I just get in there to fight, but most of the time that I want to fight, I'm like, like I have like this feeling of like I want to go be a shithead to people for a while.
Yeah. Hey, just let me throw the question two parts to you. That same question, are you role playing? And secondly, your organization, is doing piracy. Is it a role play dynamic? I mean, whether it's intentional or not, because whenever we think of piracy, we do think of someone who's playing a role, right? I mean, that's kind of how we think of it. Is that how your group looks at it? Because I know that you guys have some, we're going to talk about a little bit later, some ideas or philosophies about how you all determine piracy. Is that stepping into role playing, or is it just a mechanic dynamic of how you operate?
It's the mechanic dynamic, the way that I see it. So when it comes to like piracy, kind of treat it as like it's a business model. So, people consider us talking to the target, like you saw at the start of the show, talking to whoever we're pirating as role playing. It's like, no, like we're doing this because that ship that's full of Laranite, if we destroy it, which if you watch that full video, you'll see that they say no, we gun them down, we take the ship out, destroy it, and there's 20 or so boxes. That entire ship was only worth 2,000 credits to us after we destroy it. But if we are able to ransom that ship to that person, we can get more out of it. So it's more of a business transaction. So we don't see what we're doing as role playing. We see it more as more of a smart business practice. And one of the many philosophies that I have when it comes to piracy in Star Citizen is that poor targets make poor targets. So if we just go around murdering everyone and taking all their stuff, then they're not going to have enough money to be able to keep going on. So you don't go around slaughtering dairy cows; you milk them. So it's always better to take a little bit.
Model, huh? I like that. Sorry to interrupt. It's interesting. Interesting phrase.
Like a lot of people, a lot of people think that's cold and calculating, but that's the reality of what we're facing. And as Star Citizen develops as a game further along the lines of the lore system being further fleshed out, PvE becoming PvE is going to encroach more on the game. We're going to have to deal with NPC security and AI security and all of those systems there. It's going to encroach more and more on what we're able to do, where we're able to go. So as players that are playing on the criminal side of things, we need to be smarter about our interactions and pick the times when we actually sit there and go, okay, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth taking that crime stat right then and there for what we're going to get out of it? Right now, it doesn't really matter that much. It's alpha, everything's throw away. Like as the game gets closer towards its realization, find that it's groups that are more principled in the way that they operate when it comes to how they conduct business, and they treat it more like a business as opposed to going out there and just killing people for the lols. So for us, people interpret what we do as role play, but it's more or less like we just perceive what we're doing as playing the game the way that it's supposed to be. And that's the way that we treat it right now.
All right.
Okay, that's interesting because you said people see it as that way, and I will tell you, to me that is role play to me. But I do understand your perspective. I actually, but because I see it as role play, for me, it doesn't bother me that you do it. Because I see you're operating in the universe a certain way as this organization who's profiting, the fact that you have, for lack of a better term, you have a certain mission statement or mission goal about what it is you're doing. To me, when there's that much thought that goes behind it, and that's just me, I'm not saying it, I'm not trying to force role playing on you. I'm just saying, to me, I like that. To me, it seems like, they're playing a certain role in the universe. The role they're playing is there's some dangerous folks out there. That's what I'm looking at. You're looking at it from the economic standpoint, which I can get. Kelosal, he says he wants to milk you, and he ain't gonna slaughter you. So give me some thoughts on that, because I love that idea, the concept of it. What are your thoughts on? I'm saying this in all seriousness when it comes to role play. Does it matter to you whether people role play, or Does it make it better for you when people role play? Because I've told you my story about Eve when the guys role played with me, and it didn't bother me. I lost a lot of money, and it didn't bother me because they role played, and I was like, okay, here, you know. But give me your thoughts on this. Pirate,
yeah, just a pirate. That's just a classic pirate move. I mean, but I love the fact that they role play. Now, I'm a role player myself, and I played with several people who does role play. We got one person out in Soul Citizens who role play very well. Jade, by the way, I got to give her a shout out because I love the way how Jade role plays. But I've seen,
wait. Musha, Musha, you see what Musha said about you in chat, right? I want you to appreciate that statement.
About what? Pirating?
No, he said bear milk.
Oh, bear.
He's talking about your bear. I love it. Go ahead. I love it, Musha. That was a good one. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna go back to the statement in terms of role playing. I mean, I love role playing. As a matter of fact, I've been, for a long time, I've always tried to look for groups that role play. Whether you're pirating or whether you're just going out in the verse. There are a lot of people out there, you see Burt Black's group and you see Finalist, they do role playing all the time, Tiger Rider. There's a whole slew of people that goes out there. Tim Mack, when he goes and role plays with what's that game? When he goes role play with his group called The Family. And I love the idea that they do that, and they spend so much time. Sometimes they create stories, sometimes they create chapters, sometimes they create seasons, and it really keeps their community going with that. So I think role play is actually, I think is undervalued. I think the more and more people get into it, the more and more they'll be able to understand what it means to be a community. Because a lot of these people do play together for so long that it tends to develop another aspect or another different level of the game. That's why you see a lot of these people with private servers. It's the first thing they're asking for is private servers, whitelist a lot of people to make sure that they get the right dynamic into their groups and things like that. So role playing to me is a good aspect of the game that I think a lot of people should get into.
Yeah. I've kind of got mixed feelings about how this is going to pan out in Star Citizen, because there are some people who want to come into the Star Citizen universe from a role perspective. I'm thinking about, we had one organization that was on, that was an organization that was made up of real life doctors and nurses who have literally bought nothing but medical ships, and their whole goal in the game is to role play what they do in real life as medical. That's what they want to do. They want to, and they're willing to respond to anybody, whether it's the criminal or the person who's the most lawful person. They kind of have built that around that. At the same time, there are people who will come into the verse who role play is not what they're about. They are about competition. They may be about challenges. They may be about discovery, but they never really see themselves as stepping into their avatar and going through some role play. I'm always curious about how those two will intersect. If two people come together on the same wavelength, then I see things being very cool. But if Buster's role playing and I'm not, how will our interactions, what will happen with our interactions? And I guess we'll have to see. I mean, this isn't new to any game. I'm just curious to see how it will pan out in Star Citizen in particular. And when I told the story before, when I was in Eve, I was mining out in null space. I was in a place that was very dangerous. I knew it was dangerous. I was quickly surrounded by some people from that org or that corp, and they basically told me, you're not supposed to be here. This is our area. Who are you from? They interrogated me. Then they told me, okay, you have to pay me X number of dollars and we'll let you go. And there was a lot of tenseness in that. And the tenseness was, I may pay them and they may kill me. I may pay them and they may let me go. Let's see. I don't know. I knew I was in a dangerous area. We did a little banter back and forth. I finally negotiated with them, gave them an amount of money that they were happy with, and they escorted me out. And I was waiting for them to blast me in the back, and they didn't. They let me leave, right? What happens when I'm that person who's not meeting somebody who's into role play? Because as you mentioned earlier in Eve, Kelosal, you could go out there and try to negotiate with somebody and just boom, and that's it, right? So no negotiations, nothing to talk about. They don't care about getting anything. All they wanted to care about was being on the leaderboard. So I'm curious how those two worlds. And I don't know, Agens Leti or Buster, if you guys have any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear what you all think in the sense of the Star Citizen universe.
So I'll give you one thing that usually happens from that when you have a disconnect between role players and non-role players. War. War usually happens.
Could happen. Yeah.
And because you get people who go out there role playing, they're like, I was just role playing, I was just da 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 da, and then you get a community that be like, we don't role play. And we're serious about it, and we're serious about our business, and we're serious about our people, we're serious about our corporate, we're serious about our alliance, blah 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 blah, and war usually happens. So that's one disconnect between non-role players and role players. Yeah,
could be one outcome. Okay, Agens Leti, you got any thoughts on it, or?
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where players taking agency over what they want to do in the game itself. Like if people want to play a role, like role play, put on a character, like that's all well and good for them. When it comes to, your example of where somebody's coming in and they're not role playing and somebody else is trying to role play their character, you end up with this dichotomy where both, like the person who's not role playing, they don't really care. Like if somebody tries to role play a character to us, we really don't care about what your character is, your background, your motivations, or anything like that, as long as you pay. Like if you will present terms to you,
right?
Because that's part of our business model. Like if we can make the credits without, presenting those terms, then like you kind of shit out of luck there. But if like it makes sense for us to present terms, then we'll do that. And if you try and put on a voice or anything like that, we're just going to be like, all right, are you going to pay or what? Like we really don't care about your character. We're there to do our thing because we're there to play the game that we want. We have no problems with other people playing the game that they want, the way that they want. That's fine. But like at the end of the day, like we present our terms. You get a choice. If you don't want to pay, that's fine. We'll take what we can get from you anyway.
Okay, cool. Buster, any thoughts?
I don't know. Like I think I liked what Kelosal said about the disconnect and it creating kind of a rift between people. And then of course Age is like, I don't care. Like you do the thing, we're good. Which in a way is your kind of form of role play when you think about it. I mean, when you really think about it, that is a form of role play. The fact that, I mean, you may not be portraying a character, but that's the role you are playing, so to speak. So a bit more literal, but I don't know, like and this is not like a PvP thing, but this is like just an experience I had with role playing a game. And like basically I do this thing sometimes at New Babbage, and like where people work out area, that little courtyard, the little yoga courtyard. I do a thing called SQUADRON 42 where I just pretend to have my little character like teaching a squats class. And it really like I very rarely have other players actually interact with me. It's just like for the sake of like doing something funny for my chat. But like one time I was like wrapped up my class and I was going on my way to go get some components at some stores. And within like in 2 different stores, I had 2 different players insult me based on the fact that my character did not have a shirt on, right? Because she like, I just I forgot to just do it. I forgot to put it back on. But she was working out. She's like her little bra. She was sweating and stuff. A dude literally called me a slut in game. And then another guy just was like insulting my looks and my intelligence. And I know that's like not PvP in the literal sense of like people shooting each other, people like fighting each other. But like sometimes like you have to almost like the role play like is what you use to defend yourself from people being assholes. Because I immediately was like, well, I told both of them off. Like I think I was like more like I was very I don't know, like I was upset, but the way I dealt with it was to like just be way meaner than I normally would, like because and in a way you can protect yourself in that way. I don't know. I just think that some people are gonna role play and some people aren't.
Right.
And there people that don't, they think there's a law and they kind of, it's almost like singing in front of people. Like some people are really embarrassed by the fact like they can't imagine doing it because it would be weird for them. I don't know, I think it takes some guts to like stick to a character and especially like consistently in a game or like playing it because it's almost like acting. You know, and if you keep doing it, and you do it all the time, you get better at it. And I don't know, it's weird. It's
let me say this. I think that, you know, and I appreciate the fact that when Agens Leti talked about character, and I think that, you know, there's a dynamic of, is he playing a role in the universe, or is he role playing in the universe? And what I hear is that they're playing a role in the universe, which is the part that I can embrace. The role that he's playing in the verse is, and his group are playing, is that when I go out here, I need to be on my point. I need to be paying attention. If I don't see them, how will I respond? I need to be prepared. Do I have money in my reserve to pay them, because I don't want my ship to get blown? I mean, he's there, but they play a role of bringing that immersive, that unexpected thing that's not on the Moby glass, right? That could happen at any point. That's not an NPC. In fact, will probably perform better than when I run into NPC piracy, because there's the dynamic of negotiation and talking. And that plays a role for me in the game. The role players, though, go to a different level. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I don't want to belabor the point. For the people who go into character in game, because then those are the ones that I'm really kind of curious about, is how will that interaction happen in Star Citizen? Because Star Citizen does have all this lore and background and all this other stuff that a lot of people want to immerse themselves in. And at the same time, you have players who maybe don't care about lore, don't care about the fact that the UEE and who's lawful, this and that and the other. They don't care about any of that. They just want to play the game their way. So I was just raising it as a point of just to talk about. Let me jump ahead, because we're running a little bit behind.
Yeah.
I want to show you guys a video. Maybe you know, if I would, Mongrel, if it's Agent, rather, if it's okay, would you talk a little bit about that introduction to piracy in Star Citizen video, just as I get it ready?
Yeah, sure. So the introduction to piracy is the first episode of our Mongrel Piracy Academy series, where we're taking pretty much all the knowledge that we've gained over the years of attempting to do piracy in Star Citizen, and then starting to succeed at doing piracy in Star Citizen, and condensing it into pretty much lessons to teach other players who are looking at Star Citizen, who are interested in piracy gameplay and want to actually get involved in doing piracy. They may see our videos and go, that's a bit too intense for me. I don't really want to get involved with an org like that. Or, you know, like they may not feel like they're at the level yet that they want to be at to try and join us. So this kind of gives them the opportunity, the knowledge, and, you know, helps them work out what skills they're going to need to be able to practice, to be able to do piracy on their own initiative. So yeah, the introduction is pretty much us explaining, you know, our perspective of how piracy works in Star Citizen.
And it's a very good video, gang. We'll put the link in for you guys to check it out, but here it is right here, okay?
In Star Citizen, for years there's been a widely settled notion by the community that piracy doesn't exist in the game's current build.
Missing mechanics,
no mention by the developers,
misunderstanding of the game's direction, and many other reasons have contributed to their belief of this notion.
Until now, at least.
We in Mongrel Squad are among the few that had begun the campaign for piracy development in Star Citizen many years ago,
when all you could really do is capture someone's ship in Arena Commander.
From then, all the way to now,
the game in its current state has allowed us and other pirate groups to flourish.
As a result of our efforts and message, in the last 8 months,
we've noticed many more players have been raising the black,
posting content,
starting their own orgs, and shattering that very notion.
We are overjoyed to see how far this gameplay has come,
and the strides the community has taken to bring it this far.
In an effort to take it even further in development,
and to breed more players that are keen and going on the account,
we feel a duty to share the skills, experience, and knowledge that we've gained over the years with you,
so that you can start doing piracy right.
And thus,
welcome to the Mongrel Piracy Academy.
in this video series, we're going to expose the lessons we've learnt throughout the iterations of Star Citizen in an effort to encourage other player pirates to get out there and make it happen. We'll cover the topics ranging from the technical use of ships perfect for piracy through to the tactics you can employ in order to successfully pull off a hit. The two targets we look for when conducting piracy are cargo haulers and miners. there is a vast array of vessels capable of hauling cargo, and as pirates, it's important to ensure that the targets you're hitting are making enough to be worth your time. The current iteration of piracy can involve one or more of 4 methods of obtaining profit from a target. The 4 types of piracy are looting, extortion, ransom, and scooping. And I'm going to be explaining what each of these mean, how closely linked they are to each other, and the nuances that make them all incredibly different. Extortion-based piracy is the most time-efficient and makes the most sense from a profit-first focus out of the 4 piracy methods. The basic idea behind extortion piracy is to threaten destruction of your target ship if they do not pay you to leave them alone. The current iteration of piracy does not allow the transfer of cargo between 2 vessels without destroying the ship carrying the cargo. Therefore, in order to do extortion piracy, we have to demand credits. Once we have the ability to transfer cargo between ships, extortion will essentially be complete. There's a feature listed on the roadmap that potentially describes this. The cargo system refactor could possibly allow us to strip a ship of its cargo and place it into our own. We won't know until it's here, but hopefully it bodes well for piracy, because it'll remove the dependency on extortion as the primary method of income. Ransom-based piracy is the most difficult to pull off, but it also resembles the closest representation to what CIG wants piracy to be. The idea is to board the target ship, incapacitate the crew, then begin negotiation with them to, quote, sell their ship back to them. Since there's no permanence to death yet, the optimal method of incapacitating the crew is to kill them, wait for them to respawn, then direct message them to begin the negotiation. If the target agrees to those terms, you then meet them somewhere with their ship after you get the credits, and then just hand their ship back over to them. Ransom and extortion go hand in hand because ransom is normally the result of when extortion fails, wherein the target refuses or ignores your demands. At that point, you just take their ship by force. Sometimes the target can have a change of heart after that. Looting vehicles is currently limited within Star Citizen, meaning that the amount of profit you can gain from a destroyed cargo ship is very small. But there's one vehicle whose cargo we can take completely. The Grey Cat Rock. The cargo box on the Grey Cat Rock acts as the vehicle's storage for the gems that miners collect when mining gem nodes. The cargo box is not locked and anyone is able to access it. Essentially what you want to do is stalk the target while getting constant scans on that rock, and once you feel that the target has enough gems on board, you seize the vehicle and either siphon the gems from the rock into your suits, or make one box of all the gems if the rock is on a cargo grid. Lastly, we have scooping. This type of piracy is the easiest to pull off. All you really need to do is find a target full of cargo, blow them up, and collect the boxes that spawn. When it relates to cargo haulers, this should be your last resort, as the previous mentioned methods are far more profitable, because when you destroy a cargo ship, the boxes that spawn yield around 10% of the total tonnage. If all previous methods don't work out the way you want, you can at least make something from what's left of the cargo. When it comes to rock miners, however, destroying the ship outright can sometimes be your first option, because the rock doesn't necessarily have to be in the ship when you do your hit, so you're just getting rid of unneeded assets. But be wary of destroying the rock, because unlike destroying a cargo hauler, the rock variants will not spawn collectible cargo, but instead will spawn hand-mineable nodes that you'd have to spend hours collecting. So that about wraps it up for the first episode of the Mongrel Pirate Academy. This episode was mainly an introduction to piracy, and in the following episodes, we will definitely be diving deep into the details on the tools and tactics used for each of these methods, such as how to use EMP and QED ships, scouting tips, negotiations, and much more. Piracy is not easy to do, and it takes a team effort, with everyone working hard together to achieve a successful outcome. The reality is that you're going to have failures. You're not going to be making hundreds of thousands of credits on every single hit. You're going to get called names, and you have to accept that people don't like what we do. But If you're serious about becoming a pirate in Star Citizen, then you have to remember, pirates take what they want and they don't wait for permission. It's not perfect, but if you have a team and the drive to push you through multiple failures, which you will have, then you can make piracy work for you. I'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
All I'm seeing is Laranite and a bunch of names for what's on board.
They're saying, really? He's got a helmet on and a weapon.
Oh, sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. But I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Kelosal, what'd you think of the video?
Very well done. I mean, very, very well done. Congratulations. Good job, Agens Leti, because that's a well done video. I'd like to know who made it. Maybe we can hire them sometime around the corner, but it's very well done. A good, I would say, presentation for those who would like to get into pirating, who are intimidated by it. Like I said, I'm a little Care Bear, and that's my friend over there, so I can give a rat's behind about pirates. But I appreciate the role play that they do and the type of content that they bring to the game.
Okay. Buster, what about you? What'd you think? Oh, did we lose
Sorry,
it?
I was muted for a second.
Oh,
no, I loved it. I thought it gave a really good overview of what it's gonna what it will take. And I don't doubt that. I can imagine like the style of gameplay that people like Agens takes on is very, very, you have to have a good group of people that want to do it and that do it together, and they, it's a lot of organization without having too much too, right? You got to be able to be flexible. So I really appreciated it quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah. Agens Leti, any comments you got? Sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to give Dobbs a shout out. He was the one that did the editing, and he's also the one that does the narration for it. So yeah, he's the one that actually made that video. I just wrote the script for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things that we've always tried to be pushing away from is the whole, PvP equals griefer argument. Pirates do engage in PvP out of necessity at the moment. At the end of the day, I've been asked this question plenty of times, will you hit PvE targets? And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't discriminate against booty, It's AI driven or player driven. If they've got booty, we're going to take it. So for us at the moment, though, piracy is mainly focused on PvP, and we'll probably continue seeking out PvP targets once Star Citizen's develop further along the lines. That'll be difficult. Still be out there looking for it.
Yeah. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch any of Mongrel Squadron's videos, please find them on YouTube. Check them out. They put out a series of videos from time to time. As he mentions, they're not scripted. They just basically record their operations just to give you an idea or a glimpse into how they play in the Star Citizen universe. If you look at this picture we have on the screen here, we've got the psychology and the psych chaos person. And for me, when I look at their video, I see them as on the green side. I see them as people who are well organized. They know what they're doing. They have a team of people everything from their communications to which ships they choose, the type of targets they choose. I have to admire it. I'm not a PvPer, but I enjoy just not watching them. But it's also, I think they're also putting it out there as a learning opportunity too. This video that we just watched here, for me, is the one that for people who have their own misconceptions about what piracy would look like. This video kind of brings it out in a way that shows it more in a positive light. Yeah, you may not like the end result, but the video itself brings piracy to a certain level to me that I'm like, okay, I get it. I see why these guys are into this, or these ladies, why they're into playing this type of gameplay. So once again, to you guys, Agens, it was a great video. Really thank you for allowing us to show it today.
Hey, we got a little bit of a Godzilla reference over here talking about let them hunt.
Oh yeah. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go.
No. They cannot hunt.
Yeah, let me go to Buster first on this next question. When it comes to PvP, what's your approach? And what I mean by that is that do you go into the game like we had a conversation with somebody once who told us that they worked at a certain business, and you could tell it was a very frustrating type of business, right? And so they literally tied in their real life experience to how they play the game. They said, when I leave work, I've been doing this all day and I'm frustrated. So when I come home, I just look for stuff to blow up. I mean, that's kind of like their motivation. For you in PvP, what do you consider your motivation? Is it the reward of defeating someone? Is it just the whole challenge? What is it for you that is like your approach to when you jump in PvP?
Well, like I said, I suck at it. So when I do succeed, when I actually take somebody down, it's like, oh my God, yes. Like that, for a good example, like the what do you call it? The helmet, the Vandal helmet last October. I grinded for that the whole month. Like that wasn't just like, oh, go and kill a few people. Like some of the PvPers probably got that done in like less than 2 days. I took a whole month to get that 50, and I worked so hard to get to where I got, and I felt like my skill improved a lot that month. I think I would love for there to be more like events like that to allow players to sort of PvP, but you know, the whole going to jail thing is a big pain in the ass, and that's what really slows it down. And obviously by design to some degree, but for me, it is about like that's really skill improvement. And
thanks for the follow.
Because if I keep losing PvP matches, I get really upset.
Okay.
I get really, really, really upset. Like it gets to me really bad when I just lose and lose and lose and lose, because
thanks for the follow.
It just feels like everything that I've ever tried in the game. Like it just makes it feel like it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, somebody's always going to whoop you, but getting whooped over and over and over again is really like demoralizing.
You take a step back. You have to take a step back from it when you get frustrated.
Thanks for the follow.
Yeah, and that's probably part of it, right? You're getting frustrated, so you're just getting worse. But yeah, it's fun. Like I have to win. I have to get someone, and it makes, like, one time I beat Nerd Show and Tell, and I was beside myself because it was a lucky shot situation. But I beat him one time.
Good job, Buster.
Okay.
I have a clip of it. That's how, like, we had to have a clip made of it. You know what I mean?
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Agens Leti, what about you? What's your, the ultimate? I know you talked about the fact of the ultimate reward, but what are some of the motivations for you guys as a group? Is it something you all look for as work collectively or individually?
So yeah, for us, when we approach PvP, like, we're pretty much, that's the main thing that we want to do because of the content that we get out of it. Like, we're driven by the content, the experiences that we get out of this. It becomes part of our story as we grow as an organization, having a history behind what we do. We don't like the idea of creating like a background history out of like the lore of the game itself. Like, we're the masters of our own destiny, so we'll forge our own history by actually getting out there and doing it. One of the reasons why we put our content out there is to show people, what is possible in Star Citizen, and obviously a lot of it is PvP based. We've gone out there and we've attempted to do, like piracy against PvE targets, and, a lot of the cargo ships don't have cargo on them. So it's, like taking down one of those NPC ships isn't too difficult, especially if the server's been up for a while. So once again, going out and hunting those players. For us, it's more about the gameplay, the teamwork that we also create out of it, and being a part of, a team achieving a goal together. That's something bigger than us ourselves. So, like when we saw The Rock come in, or when I saw The Rock come in, I got really excited at the, possibility of players doing more industrial-based gameplay. This is ironic for a pirate to say, because what I saw there was like the potential for an industrial supply chain going from the rock mine all the way through to somebody, selling it at the outpost. And, there's been instances of gameplay where I've observed that happen from streamers, but because of the nature of the gameplay itself being a lot more self-driven and requiring a lot more coordination and players taking agency of what they do, you don't see it too often out there in the game space itself. But, you know, like for us, the biggest motivation for, you know, just getting out there and, you know, playing Star Citizen, which in turn ends up being PvP for us anyway, is just, you know, like going out there and being the master of your own destiny and, you know, playing the game the way that we see it should be played.
Nice. Okay. Buster, you already kind of answered this question. I was going to ask you, what was your most memorable PvP experience in Star Citizen? Was it the nerd show and tell situation? Was that it?
You know, honestly, it probably was. It probably that between that and like back at Jumptown, I remember I was like playing one day and like Noodle came in and we just kind of went rounds and rounds with like me and like 4 or 5 other people just like made it our mission to take him down for like, and it took, I mean, we sat there for like 2 hours just trying to get his tail caught and, you know, catch him by his tail, but we couldn't quite do it. I mean, I think a couple of us managed it once or twice, but it was intense, just constant fighting with Noodle. And yeah, like, and then of course, like I said, the Vanduul helmet, like that was just a lot of PvP in 1 month. So that's that was really fantastic. And I love that. And yeah, I mean, really the most memorable are always going to go back to Jumptown. Cause I mean, I think when I think PvP in Star Citizen, I tend to just go ship to ship, but then I forget like, oh, you know, I used to like take a railgun to Jumptown and just wait for people to try to walk into Jumptown. You know, like it's just like that was some of the best part of that in particular. Other like the ship fights are fun, but just lying in wait under Jumptown for somebody was amazing.
Excuse me for 1 second for cutting in. Uber Nerd, thank you much for the raid. We appreciate that. I am going to put out one warning for those of you who are here today who are trolling and being disrespectful. Our mods are watching. I've been tolerating it, but I'm going to ask that you guys be grown-ups and not be children. I've never had to do this on the show before, so I'm asking now before we start dropping people. People are here to have a good time. If you're not into this game, you don't like it, don't waste your time here. Graduate from Eve, okay? That's all I'm going to say, because I'm tired of seeing it in chat.
Doubly for you guys and Uber Nerd. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Uber Nerds, folks, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate you guys. Uber Nerd, as always, man. We were just talking about you earlier. Thank you for being here and sending your people, sending all your love. We appreciate that as always. Hey, Panther. All right, great. Let me go to Agents. Agents, any particular memorable moment for you guys or for you as an individual player with PvP? They're like when you really like, yeah.
Probably my favorite experience was Mic Drop, which is on our channel. It's a hit where we did where we pirated Salty Mike. Him and his crew were out doing rock mining. Our scouts found him about 30 kilometers away from an outpost, and in my infinite wisdom, I decided to do a ground or lead with a ground assault, which turned out not to be the smartest idea. The cyclones on aerial don't do too well in the terrain there during that time, so it took us a while to get there. But yeah, it was definitely an experience. Probably my most favorite part, and this is what I perceive like piracy to be. Like, this is what I want piracy to be in Star Citizen, is that boarding action where EMPs are going off everywhere. It's all chaotic, and you know, like you think of like Star Wars just before they're about, you know, the stormtroopers are about to board the was it Tantum 4, where they're about to, you know, push into that room, and that's what I imagine like the start of a boarding action is supposed to be like. And for us, my favorite part was how like we had cracked open the ramp of the Carrack, and we were charging up the ramp and, you know, fighting our way through the ship. Unfortunately, we lost out of our ground team. We went in with 5 and we lost 3 of them before we even got to the ship itself. So it was literally just myself and one other guy. And it was, you know, just fighting through, getting into that ship, finding where the crew was, and pretty much just corralling them to the Carrack's medical bay. It's a bit of a dick move, keeping people locked in that medical bed by stopping them from getting out. but it's the only way that we can get people to listen to us. So we have to, like, we get them there, we start talking to them. They obviously didn't pay, but the entire experience of like boarding the ship, fighting your way through it, and getting everybody into that, one position where you could actually start the negotiations. That's the type of piracy gameplay that I want to see, happening more of, and that's kind of the piracy gameplay that we're all seeking. Like, that's what we're pushing for more, and we want trade to be fixed just as much as what all the cargo haulers do. We really want that to be fixed so that they're all out there doing their thing, so that we can go out there and do our thing.
Nice. Boy, Salty Mike, I can imagine how salty he was after that.
I mean, look, I gotta feel sorry. I gotta feel sorry for Salty Mike on behalf of. Because he's my neighbor. He's on the East Coast, near Miami area, or what have you. And Salty will tell you, or formerly known as Twerk, will tell you that he is not a good PvPer at all.
Yeah, for real.
He will tell you that a lot of times he's sought help from multiple people in terms of how to fight. So he's gotten better at fighting. But if you've ever experienced Salty Mike fighting, you need to go into Arena Commander, because Wolf or things like that. Salty Mike is in and out, always usually in the bottom.
It's not his forte, not by any means. Folks, for those of you who submitted questions, please don't think that we have ignored them. We hit the questions at the end of the show.
He's a good guy.
I do have your
And
list
some
here.
of the questions we're going to end up hitting later.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. In fact, we're going to respond to one of the questions right now. Most of you guys saw ISC this week, and the subject that came up was about medical gameplay, and so we're going to show a quick clip of that, and then we want to get some feedback from our guests about what do they think medical gameplay, how it may impact PvP, if it'll have any impact at all, for that matter. So let's take a quick look at that video.
Heck yeah.
When you are incapacitated, before you fully die and regenerate, you will have a significant period of time to wait it out for people to be able to come and rescue you. Now, clearly, if you've taken a severe amount of damage, that time is going to be less. And if you've taken a moderate amount of damage, that time is going to be greater. But we're talking, in the half an hour, 2-hour range where, there should be plenty of time for somebody to come and rescue you. Clearly, if somebody's there still damaging you while you're in the down state, they can essentially coup de grace you, they can execute you, and you will be forced to regenerate. But we are giving the player enough opportunity to try and wait it out. If players don't want to wait it out, and that is their choice, then they can choose to regenerate immediately. And the one thing that we do want to call out is, if you do regenerate, then you will leave behind all of your items and gear that's on you right now, but we can talk about that next week.
Okay, we can talk about that next week. Let me go
in
to
Star Citizen.
Oh my goodness!
For years, there's been a.
Sorry about that, gang. Agens Leti, let me. I keep going to the same video every time. I gotta fix that button. Agens Leti, let me go to you. Medical gameplay, the stuff that we learned from this week. I know the video is going to change in a second. What do you think? Impact, no impact, better, worse? What are your feelings about it?
I've always been the wait and see type person when it's come to Star Citizen and its implementation of game mechanics. There used to be a time, my org knows my policy on like doing too much theory crafting. So it's one of those situations where I'm a bit iffy on where this could actually go, because coming from a survival game background, you only take what you need. So, and if you know that you're going to lose your stuff, you're not going to want to go out there with too much in the first place. For us, like, it's a plus for piracy, being able to loot players, being able to loot their ships. But then again, for us, like at the start of the patch will be great, and then towards the end of the patch we'll be like, all right, we've just got this exact same helmet for the 1,000th time. It gets a bit tired after a while. But once again, it adds a bit more agency to what players are doing. Like, no longer do we have that infinite bag of holding where, we as pirates also use, where we're sitting there going, all right, I need to switch to a railgun, reach into the infinite bag of holding, grab out that railgun, and start going ham. For us, like, being a lot more purposeful with what we choose and what we take with us. But once again, like, coming from that PvP and survival game background, it's like, necessity. You're only ever going to take what you consider necessary to what you need to do. So I'm not going to be surprised if we come across cargo haulers and they're just running around their frog suit with a pistol, all the time, and they don't bother wearing any of their exclusive stuff. They don't bother, upgrading their armor or anything like that, because it's too much for them to lose if they're already hauling, close to 1 million credits worth of cargo. Why would they bother trying to suit up, or do any of that other stuff?
I thought about you when I saw this, and they talked about the time frame, right? Somebody goes into the down state instead of, the immediate dying and waking up like they do now when something happens, like in the opening clip. Now, they go down and they're there, right? And maybe they're going to have to wait 30, depending, right? Maybe they'll decide that I don't want to respawn, that they're there. Is that another aspect that you could use to your advantage? The fact that they're in that down state versus the immediate spawning, you know what I mean, back at the station?
Yeah, so this is something that's been discussed, a lot amongst us. One of the things that we've always wanted is non-lethal takedowns, because, we want to be able to negotiate with somebody if we're not planning on taking all of their stuff. We want to be able to talk to them. A lot of the times when we're running in, we've got guns out because it's faster to act than react. So, we'll be pointing guns at them, talking to them, but as soon as we see anyone else draw a gun, we'll just shoot straight away. That's just the way that we roll. But we'll always, we'll be pointing guns at you and talking to you at the same time, and trying to, telling you what we want.
Right. Okay.
But if, somebody pulls a gun, we gun them down. Now that we've got, that down state, until we know a bit more about how that's going to work, like if VoIP is still going to work for them, I don't imagine it wouldn't. But if they can access their mobiGlass while they're in that down state to make that transfer of credits and all that sort of stuff, because one of the things that we talked about was different levels of how we ransom someone. So it's like, all right, we can talk to them, ransom their ship, and it will only cost them so much. If they try and pull a gun, we'll still try and negotiate with them after they're in that down state and be like, okay, it's going to cost you more because we're going to heal you up so that you can keep going. So you can pay the ransom, you get healed up, we get we get the credits, you get to keep your ship, your cargo, and your life, and you can keep going on. If they say no, we just finish them off. Like, it's literally that simple to us. Like, going along those stages. But trying to think of creative ways of getting around that too. So, apparently there's a blood drug level thing. So, hitting people with too many drugs so that they, end up passing out, going into that slightly unconscious state, so that we can start talking to them, negotiating with them that way without actually damaging them too much. Because from my understanding from that video, you can do that to someone and it doesn't have a long-term adverse effect. Whereas, if we shoot somebody in the leg too many times, they end up with broken legs and they're just crawling around everywhere. People are going to be pissed at us for doing that to them. But we may end up also utilizing that as a method of, punishment. It's like, all right, well, all we wanted was your gems and you tried to fight us. We'll shoot you in the legs and leave you here. Crawl back.
Thanks, Gladestone.
Hey, thanks
like
for
that.
the subscription.
Okay, thank you, Gladestone. Okay, let me, Buster, what do you see from this PvP thing? Do you think it's going to be changing the way people do PvP, or do you think it's not going to make too much of a difference?
I think it's going to create some it can create, I'm sorry, I'm hearing myself when somebody's
He's coming through your speakers, Kelosal. Go ahead.
But I think it's interesting because I think sometimes people are going to, it's going to create opportunities for people, kind of like Agens was talking about. Like, there's going to be people that are just going to be downed, and if you happen to find them, you find them, and you can, hey, I'll heal you up, but you got to pay a little more, And one of the things I see it affecting is I don't know how many times I'm going to hear from friends that, like, oh yeah, such and such called me in the middle of the night and asked me to get in game because they were dying, and stuff like that. I think it's going to put more value on keeping a life in the game. Obviously, we've had backspace solves problem. Like, backspace has been a problem solver for a long time for people, and I think it will continue to be, especially if you get stuck somewhere and you can't really like fix. It's a bug issue that you're experiencing and there's no way out, or you don't know a workaround, so you got to get out of that. But I think it's going to create like a lot of opportunity for. Like we were talking about earlier, like with emergent gameplay and how PvP really can bring a lot to emergent gameplay and vice versa. I think it's going to create new brands of emergent gameplay, if that makes sense. Like, I can see there's going to be people who are going to go out, they're going to be out in a thing, and they're literally going to advertise to servers like, hey, you know, like here's I have an ambulance service. Like maybe they don't want, like it's kind of the same thing like a pirate would do, right? But they, you know, their goal isn't to actually kill you. Their goal is to help you. Right. But you don't know. It could be somebody pretending they want to help you. Who knows? Yeah. But I think it's gonna create a lot of interesting gameplay, and I think it's gonna create a place where people who maybe not like who aren't so much into the PvP aspect of the game, it's going to give them yet another game mechanic to partake in that doesn't require you to necessarily like the focus isn't PvP, right? It's actually support. And so, and you know, I think like PvP organizations will have a great time because I think PvP organizations can invite people that or have members that aren't so into that part of it that can actually like be part of the org and be useful and not have to PvP. So I just think like overall it just adds a place for people to feel useful who maybe don't fit in some of the other categories of player. And I think, but it also like creates really interesting opportunities in PvP. So I think it kind of, it's like it all win-win for like everybody, PvP or non-PvP. Right.
Okay, cool. Klaus, what about you? Any thoughts about the medical and PvP, how it will affect, will one affect the other in some way?
I agree with Buster a lot with that. You know, that's what, in terms of people coming in, it's called contracting, right? You're bringing other people who specialize in doing other things and things like that. And that way it would lead into another form of gameplay. I think it will change a lot of things. I'm encouraged to understand how long a player can be incapacitated. I mean, I know we saw in the video it had what 81 hours or something like that. You know, if let's say will a person be down 30 minutes, 20 minutes? Will a person be down 5 or 6 days? I mean, we're playing Icarus right now, right? And in Icarus, you have 20 days to go ahead and do what you need to do before you have to get back on the La Paz and back up into the ship, or else you'll be left. So there are times when you're unconscious. And I was unconscious today and I logged out because there was nobody else on. So the question is, how long will a player be able to sit there unconscious and without having medical attention or while waiting for medical attention? I'm encouraged to see that. I think a lot of, honestly, I did say that I think you'll see a lot of PvPers upset because, you know, they just want to go around and endlessly go ahead, and this is just my perception, you know, go ahead and harass the world, right? For whatever type of characterization they may have about monetary funds. But but the point is that if the things happen on the flip side, if it happens to them, you know, which is going to happen to them, will they be as vocal as the ones that they are doing it to? You know, so I'm interested to see that.
It's somebody in chat kind of said like it's going to change the way we play forever, and I agree. It's going to completely change the landscape of the game over time.
I am curious as to how players will react to, you know, it's great when you're the winner, right? But when you're the loser, you know, will you be just as embracing of and saying, well, I lost and that's the way it is, you know?
Oh no, you know how it is. Like, it's a great mechanic until it works against you.
I mean, don't get me wrong. No, I think there will some people who are willing to, they've assessed the risk and they're willing to take it, because there are some people who are like that. They'll take the risk and I tried it. If I would have got it, it would have been great. But I do believe there's going to be another group. Now, PvPers in the broader sense of Star Citizen are a minority of the people who play the game. They're not the majority, they're a minority. But it also gives them an edge. It makes them something to be paying attention to now. It really does. Right. Because that downtime, as much as you may hate it, the fact that if I get killed in PvP, whether it's combat or piracy or whatever it is, I wake up seconds later and all I have to do is run down to the machine. You know, now they're talking about, as Ange said earlier, maybe I happen to be carrying that custom rifle with that custom scope that I got at this particular place, this particular time, and I have some stuff on me and I don't want to do the respawn. I do the respawn, I'm going to lose out on some stuff. They may even later on put in some stuff like your rear fast card. Klaus and I were talking about earlier how in Star Wars Galaxies, when you died, you came back with some loss. It was called Black Rot, but you came back, you didn't come back at 100%. you came back like at 20%, or you came back like 20% less than what you were. And if you didn't go to the hospital, if you didn't go to the healers and get taken care of, if you died again or died en route, then you came back at 60%. And you kept going down until you went and got healed. So if they start incorporating the fact that, as they have showed us, that when you wake up in the hospital, you know, you've got to get healed up. But if I don't have the money to get the type of healing I want, or the limb that got blown off in that combat,
you're gonna have to make compromises.
That's what I'm saying. It's gonna shift the way we look at PvP, and for both sides, because as you said earlier, there's always a bigger fish, right? There's always a bigger fish, and if you happen to be on the smaller end of the hook that day, it's going to be really interesting to see how people play.
I think one of the things to mention too in that, because you saying that just made me think about it. The solo player is going to start becoming a rarer and rarer occurrence as we go forward. I think I always felt CIG really wants people. They obviously, with the ships they design and the way they design them, they want there to be a lot of opportunity for group play and for individuals to like maybe solo within a group play setting. Like, you know, you have a fleet and you got people that are just doing the fighting, so they're a little more individualized, whereas you have people like in big gunships, whatever. But I think as we go forward, I think people who are like, because I don't know how many people I know in this game that have like bought big giant ships, right? And they kind of get aghast at the idea that they may have to actually like make friends and play with other people. And I think it's a good thing in some respects that we're going forward this, but I do think that like the solo Star Citizen player is going to get harder and harder to exist as. I think everybody's going to need to have some kind of support system in the game. Go like at once it's like closer and closer to release. So,
you know, one of the difficulties, and I'm going to move on to our last question that we have for you, last two questions. One of the things I wonder about Star Citizen is, will Star Citizen become a specialized game? And what I mean by that is that in a business dynamic, you want to create that game that everybody can come in and play, right? But usually when you create that type of game, you really have to wonder what the longevity of that game will be. Sometimes when you create a game that's built around certain parameters, you just get those people who are willing to play in those parameters. Like for those people, almost everyone in my group that I know has played Eve. There's a certain type of person that has to play Eve. Everybody can't play Eve. They can't. You could try in the beginning, but the longer you're into it, the more you realize it takes a whole lot to play Eve. And I'm wondering if Star Citizen will be that way, whether or not there will be certain people who can play Star Citizen. Some people might consider this little bit that we saw from last Thursday with healing and medical as being pretty hardcore. There may be some people who really think that's going to be a lot. I got to lay on the ground for 30 minutes or an hour waiting on somebody to pick me up. For some people, that's going to be like too much. And I'm kind of curious as to whether or not CIG will hold to that and say, well, this is the game that Chris's vision, like it or lump it, or will it be a situation where there's so much outcry that, and not to be funny, do you guys remember when they raised the prices for insurance on ships that one time? You remember that? People went crazy.
I remember that. Yeah, everybody got pissed that one day. Yeah,
and they've told now. There was there was a valid argument in the sense of, for people who only had one ship, they were unprepared to deal with it. Blah 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 blah. I get that. For people with multiple ships, they didn't care. But they've been telling us for the longest time that that's going to happen and that insurance rates are going to go up. And I think there are a lot of people who don't know that. And when these visions pieces from Chris kick in, especially with PvP and Death of a Salesman, of a Spaceman, I have to wonder whether or not it's going to be much more specialized versus that game that encompasses anybody who wants to play, whether everybody's going to be able to handle this level of playing for PvP. Is this a result of Death of a Spaceman?
Well, this is why I have to put in the plug of, you know, a ship that's not in game right now. That's why I love my Endeavor, but I'm going to go ahead and put in the plug. You might want to buy a Carrack. Hashtag vote for the Carrack for the ship show.
No. Argo Cargo.
All about the Carrack, buddy. If you want some medical stuff right now, at least by 315, the only ship that can go ahead and get that at a tier 2 level, it's the Carrack. So good luck on that one. I'll be sitting right there. Dr. Kelosal will be right there, making sure that your limbs will be taken care of.
Yeah.
Look, guys, I'm pretty sure the Carrack got into the top 4 last year. Let's get Argo Cargo in the top 4 this year. Let's just do it. Let's just stick it to the Chris Roberts man. Come on. Just do it.
Vote on the carrot.
Let me hit these next two questions to our guests. And Agents, I'm going to go to you first. What are one or two big mistakes players do when engaging in PvP?
My personal thoughts on PvP in this regard is try not to go in with too much of an ego, because it's going to get bruised real quick. Like, you're just a little fish in a big pond, and there's always bigger fish getting around. Like, even even us, like, we have to acknowledge that even as coordinators we are, as prolific as pirates as we are, there are other larger orgs out there, and it doesn't matter, how good we are at piracy. If they've got the numbers, we're just going to get shat on. So, like, take a step back from yourself. Don't go in there with too much of an ego. Like, remember, it's just a game. They're just pixels. It's not you dying in real life. It's not you, losing that actual stuff. If you value your time and, the opportunities presented for you to recover some of that time, you should consider taking it. Go in there with the understanding that, like, you're not as good as what you think you are, and be a bit humble about yourself. So don't, inflate your ego too much when it comes to PvP. And the next lesson, or biggest mistakes, I'd say not learning from your mistakes would be the next biggest thing. Is like, and it goes kind of back to that ego problem, but not taking the time to learn from your mistakes, to analyze what you did wrong and trying to work out how to improve on that. And sometimes that means, once again, going back to that ego thing, taking a step back from yourself, but also, seeking out others. So don't try and do PvP on your own all the time. Seek out those who are better than you and, ask questions, practice, keep going, don't give up. Don't give up at PvP either, because you'll never get good at anything if you stop.
Never give up, never surrender.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I've been told by many people who are into PvP is don't give up. Keep at it. It can be frustrating, but to stick with it. And everybody who I know who has done that, I've never had anybody who came back and said, well, I stuck with it and it didn't work. I mean, it seems like eventually people do get into a place of some comfort zone of feeling somewhat competent, better than what they were in the beginning. But those are both great, especially the thing about leave your ego at the door. It's kind of an interesting perspective.
But the band won't appreciate you for that if you give up, right?
No, they won't. They won't. Buster, what about you? Anything in PvP, either for yourself or other people, that you think is a mistake, when it comes to it, big mistake that's made?
I kind of want to double down on one of the ones that, I think both of them are excellent, and I 100% agree with both of them, but I want to double down on the ego thing, because I'll just tell you guys without telling the whole story. I kind of learned the hard way that ego can really trip you up. I had basically a rivalry with somebody. They killed me one time coming into Porto, and I just happened to be in servers with them very often. And it was like, I was, I thought they were somehow targeting me, because it was so weird. Because it really was like I constantly ended up in the same servers as this person, and I made a fool of myself trying to have it out with this guy. And since that happened to me, I 100% I try to always just, it's all about having fun. Don't take it too serious. And even when I made a fool of myself, it was like, wow, y'all got me. His whole org got me really good. And I was like, whoa, I can't even be mad at you guys, because you did such a great performance of fooling me. You know what I mean? And so I would totally double down on that. And the other part of that I want to add to the most is, the more you get upset and you pitch a fit and you call names in chat or global or whatever, the more they're gonna be incentivized to go after you, right? Because I think we all that play, every one of us that plays this game can everybody has a moment or a player that they remember being a little what, and everybody that person or their friends or whoever, but we all have that story of somebody was being a real little problem one day, and either the whole server or they and their friends like just continually went after somebody because they need to be taught a lesson like that. And settling things in game is a really healthy thing to do. I believe in that. I believe like have it out in the game, but like don't take it outside of the game. Like let it be what it is. It's a game. But the other thing that I want to say, and this is more of a mechanic, like a strategy, is just don't go into and I guess it goes back to ego too in a way, but don't go in expecting to win. Like let winning like sometimes if you let winning be the joyous like thing that it can be, and not like and you don't have that ego of like always expecting to win, then like defeats never come as harshly to you as they would somebody who expects to win, if that makes sense.
So you're saying when you go in, it's kind of like that whole thing about when people say you never fail, you learn, right? You can either look at it as a failure or what did I learn from it, which is what Agens was saying earlier too. What are you learning when you go in and it doesn't go your way? Did you learn something from it? What are you taking out for the next time? You have an encounter like that.
And just like being friendly with people is going to get you, like, because if somebody beats the crap out of you, I don't know how many times somebody's like beaten me at PvP and I've been like, hey, what guns are you running? And I suddenly now have like a new idea like for guns to run, or hey, like what are you using? And you're like, what's your loadout? Because I don't know how many times I've fought with somebody and I've become friends with them because like exchange of information,
Yeah.
Russell, what about you? Anything in particular?
No, I completely agree with Agens Leti said, and especially what Buster just recently said, because I mean we've been in toxic games, Eve, where those people do things go wrong, and they want to go ahead and tell everybody they're going to go ahead and kill them and their dogs and their wives too, and things like that. It's a hot mess, and people just need to understand that that one, this is a game or a simulation, and two, that regardless on how much they think that they put so much time into the game, once again, it is just a game. And sometimes you just need to take a step back if you are that much invested in it, and look at the consequences of what you are about to get into if you want to start doing those threatening conversations and having those threatening terms and things like that. It's not worth it. A lot of times you tend to make really good friends from those people who did screw you over, just like Buster said. I've met several people. I sit there and hit them up and I'm like, where did you get that weapon from, or how did you do that layout or that loadout or things like that? Can I come and chill with you? And then sometimes your org and their orgs, you got an alliance.
The org that made a fool of me, like they're the kind of guys, like if I told them like somebody was actually like making me truly uncomfortable in game, like somebody really was like being inappropriate to me, they would 100% go hunt that person down.
Right. Like, absolutely.
They have my I think I have their loyalty for life just because I like got past my ego.
Yep. So yeah, just look for that. Like I said, the game is just a game. Enjoy the game and learn from your mistakes and learn from other people who are willing to teach you from not to make those mistakes. It's a good game.
All right, let's hit some of the questions we've got. I'm gonna pass on that last question because you guys have kind of talked about it, about what some things that they need to do to not make mistakes.
I'll tell you advice for other than to get good. Then I'll give it a real quick answer. Try not to what's it called? Joust. Try not to joust. Watch your speed. Honestly, being a good pilot is good, especially like ship to ship PvP. Being a good pilot is 100% what's going to get you to be a great PvPer.
Okay. Good point.
You can't be a great PvPer without being a great pilot. So focus on your flying, and then the rest should come pretty quick.
Okay. Agens Leti, I'll go ahead and let you answer if you got an answer for that for the last one there.
Yeah, I'd just say get out there and do it. Like you're not going to get good at PvP by not doing it. So, like FPS PvP, flight combat PvP, just get out there and start doing it. Jump in Star Marine, jump in Arena Commander, get out there in the PU, fly red for a bit, get up that crime.
Please, everybody go play Arena Commander for once, please.
Please do, yep.
Please.
I'm glad you said. I'm glad you said that because people have been complimenting CIG on the AI improvement in Arena Commander, that it has gotten pretty deadly, and then we know they're doing the expansion on it as well, so it's going to be a bigger arena to play around in. So to your point, take advantage of that. I know sometimes it's so easy to forget about Arena Commander and Star Marine, but you do get some friends together and go out there and have fun. You're right, and use them to learn and get better. That's a good point. Let's jump into these questions. First question we had was, it was from Warhead, and we already answered it. How did we see medical gameplay and PvP come out? Question to, I'll throw this one to Agens Leti. Question for everyone, but everyone can answer, but Agent, you can answer first. What is the simplest change CIG could make tomorrow that would have the best impact on PvP?
Fix desync. Fix the desync. Fix that in PvP.
But can they do it tomorrow?
Well, no, he's
can they?
It was if they could. Yeah, it was if they could. If they could, if there was one thing, what's the priority for you, basically? If there was one thing, you're saying desync. What about you, Buster?
Same desync.
Desync, yeah. Colossal, you on the same page?
Yeah, desync is the major one. The second thing is give me full quanta and quantum.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Desync and I don't know, like to rethink EMPs. I think EMPs need to kind of be revisited,
EMPs
like whether
too. Get them fixed up. Okay.
I don't know. Sometimes they work and sometimes they're. So what was that?
Don't get me started on EMP.
I know. We could have a whole hour just talking about it, but I just wanted to. It's worth mentioning too, though. I think.
Fixed. Okay. Main Jackalope asked that question. Main Jackalope, thank you. It was a good question. From Musha 1. Somebody's going to have to help me understand this, and maybe one of you guys understand what he's saying. Where are we on the issue of the FUCK tent? Okay, Angie's letting knows what he's talking about. You know what he's talking about?
I'd say, that's a Black Sails reference.
That's what he said. It's a Black Sails reference.
We can talk about that later.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. Okay, he'll cover that with you later.
We can talk about that later.
Okay, cool.
I don't know what is going on over in your org,
but clearly they know what they're talking about. They know what they're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, they do.
This goes from Kaput. If you get hit by a pirate in Star Citizen, regardless of the outcome, such as you die, escape, negotiate, whatever, do you try and not note the same of them and try to avoid it in the future, or if it was possible, try and arrange a bounty to hit them back, or would you move on and forget about it? Okay, so he's saying regardless of what happens,
would you retaliate or not?
How would you respond? How would you respond to it? Let me go to Colossal first on that one.
Are you sure you want to go to me? Because I retaliate. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
That's simple.
That's
I'll find a way.
Ready, huh? Okay, Buster. What about you? Retaliate, run, move on, put out a bounty.
I don't know. It depends on kind of my mood, but I don't know. I would be the kind of person who, if they were being inappropriate in game chat or something, that's a totally different issue. That's to me putting it on a list of people that we always hit. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. To me, it's more of it's a mood thing. Sometimes, especially if the person's kind of open to being playful, then maybe you can have a playful exchange over it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know. It just depends on. Again, it's just a mood thing. Sometimes, do I ever want to deal with it? Do I just want to leave it alone? Yeah, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. Bitter. Yes, that's what it is. Whatever the vibe is the right answer.
Okay. All right. Agents, what about you? What's your response?
So if somebody was trying to pirate me,
if you had some type of encounter, whatever the encounter is, and you lost out, would you bounty them? Would you go after them? Would you say, screw it, I got something else to do?
See, we actually go through a lot of these encounters ourselves. We've gained a bit of a rep because of our videos, and we've had people come after us. We've got bounties on our heads and things like that. So we're already aware of a lot of what's going on. We deal with problems as we see them in front of us. Mm-hmm. So, until somebody's in front of us, we're just all right, well, if they hit us, if it's a good fight, we'll leave it at that. If it ends up being something where they just keep coming back after us, then, we have to fight back. We have to retaliate. Our main goal, though, as pirates is, seeking out their booty and profiting, which is why, you'll see a lot of people say, oh, why don't you go, fight combat ships and stuff like that. That's not what pirates do. There's no value in us fighting a combat ship. We want things that have value. So, if we have a bounty hunter send us to prison, it'll be which has happened to me plenty of times. I've been sent to prison heaps of times by other players. no skin off my nose. It's part of the game. Like, getting salty about it or anything like that. Kind of pointless.
Have you memorized the exit route out of the prison?
Yes, I know it.
Okay.
I know it quite well.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. All right, and we've got one last question here for the panel. How exactly is the typical player supposed to play a game that everything is multi-person? I'm a single play. Am I a single place supposed to log on and hope someone from my org shows up, or risk randoms who can and will kill you as fast as help? Okay, so, and that's from Solus Bill. Yes, Solus Bill, I think that and this is, and I'm not saying this to be mean by any way, so please don't take this as me being mean when I say this. Sometimes people forget that this game is described as an MMORPG, multiplayer online game, and it is being designed to be also a social dynamic where people play together, even though there is a PvE aspect in the game, where we interface with, and the ratio in this game is supposed to be 9 to 1, I think it is, of NPCs versus players. But it is also, Chris Roberts' goal is to get it so that people will play together. That's why we do have some ships that are soloable ships, something like a Prospector, but then we have ships like a Mole for people who want together in a small group, and then we have ships like the Orion, or larger ships like the Javelin. Some ships need only 3 or 4 people. Some people need a whole organization like a Javelin or an Idris that would be able to operate those ships. Some people may say, well, I want to own an Idris because it's cool and I want to do it, but I can't run an Idris by myself. The sad news about that is that you're absolutely right, because the game is not designed to be that. Though it may be cool to do it, right? It may be cool to say, I can just put AI blades in all 24 positions and run that ship. I don't think that that's the goal of what Chris Roberts wants to do for this game. So I'm gonna let the panelists respond to that, because I also don't think that let's say this, and then I will let the panelists respond. The universe is a big place. Even the one system we have right now is big, and I know there's only 50 people on the server, but as those systems build out, and if you look at how much real estate there is in Stanton, imagine what it will be like when there are 20 systems with 100 moons and 100 planets, and even if there are 20,000 people playing in that space, you will still be able to play as a single person player. Now, there will be some things that to accomplish in the game, like any other game, that grouping up with people will be great. There will be people out there, as I mentioned earlier, who, if you're that solo players out there and something happens where you get hurt or injured, maybe it's not because of PvP, maybe it's because you were mining and you fell down and broke your legs and you just can't move. There are going to be people in the game that when you, as from the demonstration on Thursday on ISC, you'll be able to hit a beacon and that call will go out. And there will be people who, I don't think there are going to be a lot of evil people in ambulances. I know people keep running that out there in Cutlass Reds. I don't think it's profitable enough. I think there are going to be people who are going to enjoy that level. Not saying there won't be any, but I think the majority of those people are going to be out there because they want to go out there and help people. They want to get paid for doing it. That's going to be their gameplay. Now we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Nothing's written in stone. I don't want to theory craft too much, but let me go to Agens Leti and let him talk about that question a little bit too for that single player.
You do got that amputee stuff going on, Griffin. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody amputated an arm on purpose.
Agens Leti, give us your thoughts about that single player who wants to be out there in the verse.
I'd put it down to risk versus reward, really. Like, what are you willing to risk, and what sort of reward do you seek? Because many hands make light work. With you doing it on your own, you just need to accept that there's certain things that you're just not going to be able to do. And that's one of the things that is made clear by CIG, is that yes, you could play this game solo. You're not going to be able to achieve to the same degree as what organizations can. But they do aim to make the game, playable for a solo player. It's just you're a solo player in a multiplayer game. And that's the thing that needs to be, you need to remember as that solo player. There are other people out there, and they're not playing the same game, or they're not playing the game the same way that you are. They're playing the game the way that they want to. So as a solo player, whilst you just want to go out there and do your own thing. And, we as pirates, we encounter a lot of these solo players. We go out there and we'll come across a lone rock in the middle, and we'll pirate them. And you'll see in our videos, it'll be like 5 ships EMPs going off, a QED ship coming down and dropping troops to, you know, go board that solo player's ship to take their gems. And we've been told, you know, I just want to play my game. I just want to, you know, play my solo game. I just want to do my thing. And it's like, that's fine if you want to do that thing, you know, your thing on your own and not be left alone. But you're playing a multiplayer game, and you know this game facilitates gameplay for us as well, and we're capable of doing this. This is allowed within the game rules, and you need to accept that this is a risk that you're taking by playing by yourself. But you know, like at the end of the day, I don't think I've ever come across any sort of group of players that aren't willing to take somebody in. So if you want to be a solo player for a while, that's fine. But eventually you want to like progress to, you know, working within a group. It's just a natural progression because you will seek that out. You'll seek that interaction out with other people. And it only takes one positive experience for it to happen. You know, I used to play a lot of games by myself as well, like over a decade ago. Yeah. And it was only like, you know, one positive experience, you know, in a PvP game that kind of just brought me into, you know, more organized group play. And now I'm just like, you know, hardcore into it. So, you know, play the game the way that you want.
Yeah, I still have to reference what Agens is saying is all true and good. I still have to reference as far as, you know, what Griff said earlier in terms of what Chris Roberts wants. He does want multi playing orgs. That's where he wants this game to go. He wants you guys playing together. A great example of a space game. I'll say this again. I'll say this over and over again. A great example of a space game where you are multiplaying in a ship is Star Trek Bridge Crew.
I knew you were gonna say that. I just
love it, Buster. I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, but that is really good. It is fun to play. Everybody has their own station. It's completely functional. I'm hoping and praying at least we see something, some resemblance of that with Star Citizen, because I had a blast with that game, and I hope we get something like that in Star Citizen.
Buster, let me ask you that question too: single player versus the multiplayer idea. You know, what are the expectations when you go out in the verse?
I've spoken on this a few times, and Agens pretty much made a lot of the points I would normally make on the subject. And I agree with Kelosal too. Like, I want that kind of cooperative gameplay, that really immersive cooperative. But I guess the way I always kind of phrase along lines of kind of what Agens was saying was, I always say, you are not immune to the gameplay of other people in a multiplayer game, nor are they immune from your gameplay.
Right.
And it's something I particularly like, especially when like that whole controversy about stream sniping kind of arose, like about a little over a year ago or something on like the forums and stuff, when Xylo posted that post to kind of remind everybody about their policies on the matter. And that griefing is, you know, I would tell other streamers, I'm like, you're not immune to other people playing the game just because you are somebody on Twitch, you know. And I think that just applies to everybody. That's not just, but I think, you know, in that context, that there's a specific thing to say there. But I don't know, man. Like, I want people to be able to play the game like solo, right? I think having the ability to gotta go do your own thing is something that needs to be there. But I also think that, you know, going into an MMO and expecting not to have interactions with other people is kind of silly. And I don't know. I play solo a lot. And this comes from somebody who plays solo all the time. I love playing solo. I like doing my own thing, you know, whether I go PvP or I go PvE or I just go screw around. But overall, the best times I've ever had in this game is usually when other people are involved. And I mean, you know, your gameplay doesn't have to be going out and shooting everybody. I mean, you could be like me and go put like 500 hot dogs inside of a ship because, you know, that's the thing to do. But it's just like, that's it. You're just not immune to other people's gameplay, and they aren't immune to you either. But behavior in said game is a totally different issue, right? So behave yourselves, be kind, you know, you don't have to be nice to everybody, you don't have to be friends with everybody in the game, but you certainly should, you know, everybody should get like a baseline level of respect from you, but the earning and then when they earned your disrespect, well, like game on, go have a great time.
Okay.
But I don't know. I just think that like it's Chris Roberts' dream, like vision, not yours, individual player. That's something I always say a lot too. This is Chris Roberts' dream game, not your dream game.
Right.
Sorry to break it to you, sweethearts.
Yeah. And that is something that we all have to kind of remember too. And then there's a lot of things that CIG
People really
does.
need to take that, like step back and remember that sometimes.
Well, they listen to the community, right, to get our feedback. And they are trying to create a game that obviously, because they need players, but at the same time,
it's not like they don't listen to us and they don't take our anecdote, like our experiences into account.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like not every little thing about Star Citizen is going to be exactly the way you as an individual want it.
Right.
I mean, there's things that aren't in the game that I don't have or whatever, and I don't go on the internet and make 5 posts about it. You know.
Yeah, I just think it's more of an appreciation for those of us, especially. I mean, it's a great game, but for those of us who followed him and played his games, Wing Commander and things like that, and so forth and so forth, and you can appreciate the fact that he's come back and he's given us this vision, and that it's like I said, I knew about that, and as soon as I saw that Chris Roberts came back and he was making this game, I was like, I'm already sold, because I loved his series that he had, and then based off of what I was seeing, I was like, oh, this is Imperium to the 50th level.
But can I cut in on that, Kelosal? Here's the problem. There are a lot of players who don't know how Chris Roberts games played.
Yeah.
And they're basing it on their experiences that they've had in other games. They don't realize how theme-oriented he is, how story-oriented he is, how lore-oriented he is. The interactions between NPCs. I mean, they don't know that. They just know what's been presented in Star Citizen.
Right. So there's new players every day.
To come along for the ride.
But hear what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that because they don't have that background, it also denies them the appreciation of understanding that vision. What they're basing it on is their experiences of how PvP and MMOs have been in the past. So there's a lot of trepidation is all I'm saying, because they don't have that background you have to understand. Like, you got excited when you heard Chris Roberts. But some people, all they heard was this new space game out.
Who's that guy?
I can relate to that, because I mean, I wasn't that way with Nick Braben, when he did Elite Dangerous, and so I can definitely relate to that. But Elite Dangerous is a good game.
Yeah.
I know it's having its problems right now, but I'm not hating on Elite Dangerous. It's a good game.
Right.
So so I definitely understand on that point and about that. All people just need to do is if there are 2 groups of people in the game. There are the people who just rather play a game that is finished, and there are people who will go along for the ride.
Right.
No matter what it is, they'll go ahead and go along for the ride.
Right.
So it's just those people who don't know Chris Roberts or haven't known him for years in terms of what he's done. I would say, you can, there are times where you can enjoy the game for free, or you just wait until the game comes out. Either or, it'll be around.
Okay.
I mean, I like Chris Roberts and all that, but he ain't no Jared Huckabee.
Oh Lord. Okay, we're not gonna even go down that road today.
I was chill. The last Star Citizen. Thank you very much.
Yes, you were.
I was cool as a cucumber.
I will grant you that. I will grant you that.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got one more question from Gallic Hero 7. I hope I'm reading that correctly. I am. Thoughts on ODing your org mates as a medic? Let me go to Agens on that one.
Yeah, I don't think. I think that's going to be done on purpose a lot in my org. One of the things I'm probably going to have to do is ban my boarding teams from sitting anywhere near each other, and tell the medic to pretty much keep their hands to themselves.
So they come staggering off their ships.
yeah, like. It's one of the most frustrating parts about the game, where there's a lot of waiting, and when people are waiting, you get bored, and then they start doing dumb things. So, I imagine quite a few times that we'll probably end up boarding ships with 1 or 2 people less, because one of them's OD'd on the ship itself, because the medic decided to play around a bit and somebody accidentally broke a leg.
Okay. I do have one other serious question. I said I was going to try to wrap this up, but I do want to ask this question to both of you. And to Kelosal as well. is the negative side of PvP, and I'm referring to the negative side, literally the negative side. Do you agree that much of it is happening because there is no content? In other words, are people bored? Is it because they are anticipating those challenges that we know that will come in the future? They're not there yet, so they go into the sandbox, and because it's not there, because there is no jump, jump, what's it called?
Jump Town,
things of that nature for them to focus in on, because there is no, as Kelosal mentioned, no quanta with trade lanes yet. Is that PvP that's happening, the negative PvP, is it happening because of the lack of that? Do you think do you think it attributes to it? Maybe I shouldn't say is it because of it. Agents, I'll let you go on that one. I guess first, Agents. What do you think? Do you think that's there? And the reason I'm asking, because you guys create your own.
Yeah.
In fact, in one of your videos, you even talk about the fact that because Star Citizen is not there, you've been able to create your own. But do you think that some of it comes from the fact that it isn't? Because I've heard that as an argument. I've heard people in the PvP community say, well, there's nothing for us to do. That's why we hang out over Port Olisar and blow people up, because there's, nothing to do.
Well, you see, part of the reason why Jumptown was popular was because that people would congregate there, and PvPers are looking for players to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst you got like Arena Commander and Star Marine, you don't get that same rush as you do in the persistent universe, where you can have more people getting involved in the fight. The battle can change, at a moment's notice. You could end up in prison. You could end up back at Grim Hex. You could end up, like respawning back in your bed, getting a couple of friends together, jumping in a multi-crew ship the next time and going back out there. Like the options for all of that sort of stuff starts coming up. But there's no like nexus of PvP anywhere other than what you create. Like when we're going out there and looking for people to pirate, we will be hunting people for hours. We'll be looking for hours, and we'll send scouts out everywhere. We talk about this in our latest episode of the Mongrel Pirate Academy, where like how we layer our approach to scouting. We'll position people in certain places where we have scouts looking, and as soon as we find someone, that becomes our nexus for where we're going to engage in our gameplay. And an issue with a lot of the communities is that they're not willing to do that. They don't want to go out and hunt that much. They don't want to spend 3 hours just to spend 5 minutes fighting and then either dying or getting a single kill. So when you're looking for like PvP gameplay, you've got the groups that want, are happy with doing scripted events, like getting together, organizing something, and they'll do that. They're fine with that. But then there's the people who want that emergent gameplay, and that's what a lot of PvP players, you'll find in Star Citizen. That's what they're seeking. They're seeking emergent PvP experiences where it just, like naturally bubbles up, and it can turn into those, full-scale wars later on down the track where two groups are there fighting over control of something. So what this game lacks at the moment is a nexus of PvP, an area where people can congregate, which is what Ninetales is supposed to be achieving.
Right.
Becoming that nexus of PvP.
Right.
Xenothreat, players were trying to take agency in Xenothreat to try and create that, use that as a nexus of PvP, but because it's heavily orientated towards PvE gameplay, you don't get that sort of interaction to the same degree. There are some PvP players who like to run blue that will get on board with it, and they'll start engaging, and that's where you end up with the more positive experiences with PvP. But like people don't want to engage in PvP. It's always going to be that one-sided thing. But what the game lacks is those areas to go to where that you're going to get into a fight.
Okay, Buster.
I would 100% agree, because even and I noticed while you were talking about that, somebody commented the Jumptown was kind of opt-in. You knew it was there and you were willing to risk it, right? Like you made the choice, and I get where people come from. Where obviously griefing to me, PvP and griefing are two things.
Right.
Griefing is just you're just being miserable, and you're making everybody else miserable. Whereas PvP is like you're actually trying to play the game. You're actually trying to like gain some skill here. There's something. You're trying. There's actual gameplay, and but at the same time, there was somebody else that said something along the lines of like, if people are picking up fights at PO, then just go. Like if you don't want to fight at PO, just go. And it's fine. Like I just think that, you know, again, you aren't immune to other people's gameplay. You know, like spawn killing, whatever, you're not really gaining a skill there. Like what you're just like wasting your time. Just, but at the same time, if that's what you want to do, like go do it. Just, you know, I can go jump to a different server or, you know, whatever.
Right.
It's not hard to avoid what you don't want in the game.
Okay.
It's a pretty big game, and that's about to get a lot bigger and not a huge like count of people available to, like, you know, how many people can be in a server. So at the moment, if you want to avoid PvP, it's really not that hard. Just go away from where it's happening. But at the same time, you know, again, like it, you know, everybody plays their own game, everybody does their own thing, and how the players play is their business, right?
Okay.
And that's how they play the game. I don't know. I don't know. I have enough people talk about griefing all the time. I've had people come to me and tell me, "Oh, I'm getting grief for this," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're not really getting grief though. You're around people that are PvPing and you're refusing to like
pay attention
find
to
a
the
solution.
situation. Right.
You're not solving it for yourself. Like either learn to defend yourself and fight back, or go
somewhere else, right? Okay.
Go.
Get the F out of Dodge.
Point made. Colossus, what about you? Any last thoughts on that?
I agree with both of them. I mean, and I said earlier, and I apologize to the guests, because I sat there and just came out and just, you know, I'm a straight talker. No, I don't think PvPers are bored. Bored does they cause PvP.
I said bad behavior. I ain't talking about regular PvP.
Bad behavior. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I think you hear that a lot of times from content creators who are bored because they sit there and run around here talking about they ain't got no content. So they run around here with the false sense that people are doing bad things because there's no gameplay in the game.
Okay.
PvPers are gonna PvP all day, all night, regardless of what the content is. They're gonna do that all day long. And I mean, we went out one day, you know, the Soul Citizens crew, we just happened to go out. There was a couple of people griefing. I won't say griefing. They were PvPing at Port Olisar. We all jumped in and we stayed about an hour just pew-pewing the whole time. It was fun. It was a great time. And so I don't see that people do that because they're bored or their lack of content. You're going to PvP whenever there's a situation arise, or you make the content or you create it, and that's what PvP does. You're creating new content, and that to me a lot of times is more exciting than just a typical cargo run or just go ahead and just you know, or even hanging out at the bars. You're creating your own content, and what isn't better than creating your own content?
Okay.
And can I add one little thing? Because I'm seeing a lot of this in chat, and it's really kind of like, I think it needs to be addressed. Like some people are kind of going on about you know, some stuff to do with I'm trying to I'm kind of scanning. You know, there's a lot of people that are pro PvP in here, and I 100% like go do your thing, go, and I'm pro PvP. I believe in it. But the thing is like, there is going to come there does need to be checks and balances in the game so that players can get together as groups. And like if you don't continue your own skill in certain areas of the game, right, then you leave it up to other people to constantly berate you and take you down. And so one thing I do want to see is, personally, I do want to see more players get into PvP, because like you were saying earlier, Griffin, there's like kind of, you think that this percentage of PvP players versus everybody else, like the PvPers are kind of a minority, and it makes it an interesting opportunity for them. But when you let them continue to be a strong group, a small but strong group that ganks you all the time, then you're gonna that trend is gonna continue. Like any good PvP.
But that's different. But hang on a second. You're talking about ganking. And I want to make sure we distinguish the difference.
Well, I just mean getting beat in like a fight. I don't mean like.
Okay.
When I say ganked, like to me, gank is like an actual like honest fight.
Okay. Okay.
Like you just you just happen to get slapped down in it.
Gotcha.
And you know, if you're getting like beat all the time or whatever, like do something about it. Like I said, make a solution. But if you continue to just like complain about people being good at it and beating your ass, then you're never gonna get like, it's gonna the trend is gonna continue in your Star Citizen life. So I mean, I say all the time that I suck at it, but I'm one of those people, I'm at least trying to get to a level of decency at defending myself. Like I don't quit like, sure, I have crappy days doing it, but I don't quit trying to get better at it. And I'm not saying everybody has to be good at it, but if you're not good at it, then find the solution of finding people that are good at it that are going to have your back.
Yep.
Like, there's so many ways to strategize and solve problems in this game. And, you know, I think like letting certain people always get good at it, and always, because a good PvPer wants other people get better at it so they can get better at it, like fighting them.
Challenge. You want the challenge?
That's right. Challenge.
Okay. Very
Shoot
cool.
first, beg for forgiveness later.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, listen, we are going to wrap up the show. We've had some great conversation. We've had some awesome guests that have made their Sunday evening spending time with us. And of course, those of you who've been chat, you guys have been lighting the chat up. My Streamlabs is going to give me some crazy reports on how big our chat was tonight, but we appreciate you guys sharing a lot of the information that you guys share, especially those who came out to support Agens Leti and BustertheDestroyer. We thank you all. To Uber Nerd, thank you for the big raid tonight as always, buddy. We appreciate you. Jod, I see you. We love you too. Thank you for your support. You're always there for us. And many of you guys, we really do appreciate you all being here. Agens Leti, let people know where people can find you, please. Tell us a little bit about where they can track you down, videos wise or Twitch wise or whatever the case may be.
So pretty much Mongrel Squad's main YouTube channel, that's where we put all our content out, and it's just youtube.com/c/Mongrel Squad, all one word, lowercase, and we put out content videos for our piracy ops every 3 times a week, and we also do a monthly talk show at the end of the month as well.
Oh, well, that's awesome. I didn't know about the talk show. Very cool. All right, once again, I'm highly recommending, check out their videos, gang, on YouTube. Really, really good stuff. Buster, where can people find you? Did we lose Buster?
She's muted.
Oh, she's muted.
Twitch. Okay, hi, I'm Buster. Buster. Oh, J. I am a streamer here on Twitch. You can find me twitch.tv/BustertheDestroyer on stuff like YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm BustertheDestroyer. So you can find me in multiple places. Just check me out and come by, say hi to me sometime while I stream, or just while I'm on shows like this, awesome shows like this. So, and then I also play like I generally on Astropub's channel, we have a group called TSMR where we play TTRPGs, and I play a character in a Star Trek game, and I play a character in an Expanse game. The Expanse game should be coming back pretty soon. So if you're into tabletop RPGs, come see me.
Okay, very cool. And Kelosal, where can people find you and Grumpy Bear?
Well, before I get to that, a major shout out to Agens Leti and Mongrel Squad for coming in and giving us a nice perspective of what they do. I definitely enjoyed it. Always a huge shout out to BustertheDestroyer. You like one of my idols. When I see you stream, a lot of the times it's always fun watching you stream. So I definitely enjoy that. And always good shout out to I got to send a shout out to SQUADRON, Best Squadron, because that's what I always do with them. And a good shout out to all the lovely folks at Soul Citizens, including our wonderful host Griff. You'll find me with SQUADRON. School is up right now, and I'm trying to do as best I can because I got all my kids in school right now to be safe. So you probably won't see me that much, or that's the reason why you haven't seen me that much, because once school is in session, I'm pretty much ghost until May. So I'll try to pop in from time to time, but you'll find me here at Soul Citizens or on the Verse with SQUADRON.
Awesome. Okay. Well, again, thank you to both of our guests for being here. Don't forget, on Thursdays, we do Soul Talk. That's our community talk show where you guys get to come in, hang out with Fastcart, who hosts that, some of the other people from the Soul Citizens team, to talk about what's happened on ISC and what goes on during the week on Soul Citizens, or I mean, in Star Citizen, rather. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. Next Sunday, we've got a very, very special show. We are doing a show called Decoupled, Married in the Verse. We're going to have some folks who are married couples who play Star Citizen together, husband and wives who are out there doing their thing in the Star Citizen universe. And we're going to find out which one of them owns the most ships, who pays for the ship, stuff like that. So it should be a fun show next Sunday, Decoupled, Married in the Verse. And yeah, we appreciate you guys being here tonight with us. But again, to our guests, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, guys. And to all of you guys, peace, love, and soul. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Catch you later.